Hi, my name is Patrick Keene, and today I have the pleasure of talking with the great artist, sculptor, engineer, and puppeteer, Chris Towle, about his solo show here at the Neutra Museum and Gallery in sunny Silver Lake, Los Angeles, California. Chris has an amazing background sculpting and creating special effects for movies such as Star Wars, Jurassic Park, Pirates of the Caribbean, Avatar, Team America, Star Trek, War of the Worlds, Time Machine, the list goes on and on. Chris, how did you get your start in this business?
I was born in a really small town in North Yorkshire, England, where there was no film industry at all. It was more farming and industry. And my parents encouraged me to paint and draw, my brothers as well. And obviously I was good at it, so I thought I'd like to do more of this. And then I found clay, which was amazing. I could do all sorts with clay, so I started getting better and better at sculpting, and I got decided that this is where I wanted to do a career. So eventually I got work in a big town called York, near where I used to live, doing visitor centres. And they would do, like, have you heard of like the dungeon, where they do reacting of all these terrible things that happen in dungeons? So I would create the characters and the animation for those, and then eventually got work on commercials, and then went to London on and off to get work in the films. So that was the slow, painful journey to getting work there.
And you had the time and the space as a young person to create your own world and have these visions.
Relatively. I was doing a permanent job as an electrician as well, because there wasn't many jobs for artists where I lived, and so I was working as an electrician as well as doing my sculptural work. And eventually I stopped being an electrician and concentrated on being an artist.
So how did you develop your career?
Well, eventually I had to move to London, and that's where my wife Natalie came, and we met in the small town where I'm from. She was working in France, and she came over, and we decided we got to go to London. This is where everything's working. So we moved to London, opened a studio, and then things, again, it took a long time to develop, but eventually we got work from the BBC and other big companies, and then worked on feature films as well in the big studios around London. So that's how it developed, really slowly, but as soon as you get your name and you do good work, then eventually you can keep going through film to film.
And you and your wife Natalie, both have creative abilities that work well with each other.
She's an amazing artist, yeah. So we worked together on some projects, and in our studio she would do like scenic work and painting things, and I'd do the sculpture and effects, and we'd do them both for the same films or the TV or wherever it was, and that's how it would work.
Who influenced you, would you say, in the course of your life?
That's a great question. Obviously I watched a few TV. I used to love comedy. That's where I got my influence from. So like Mel Brooks, Jim Henson was a big one. And some of the old caricature artists from the 18th and 19th century. I used to love their drawings, and I wanted to do caricature and like they did. So that's really my big influences, and just comedy. Yeah. British comedy, Marty Feldman, all of, Monty Pythons, all those people.
Yeah, it's funny to hear an Englishman talk about American comedic influences or artists like Henson and Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
Because normally I'm trying to aspire to be, embraced by English audiences. I just always found them.
Yeah, Mel Brooks is amazing.
Now, do you have a studio of your own?
Yeah, I have one in North Hollywood. It's a small studio. It's part of a big warehouse where I share it with two other people. They build sets, and the other is like a rocket. They sell rockets and things. So it's a good place for me to be, where I can get parts for the machines I make.
The Valley in Los Angeles has everything.
Yeah.
It's so vast, but it's so these warehouses. Who knows what's going on?
It's true.
I think that's a whole nother documentary. Can you tell us about your love of caricature?
Yeah, it's hard for me to sculpt it's like say I was sculpting you. It's hard for me to do it realistic. I have to pull those features that stand out and create something slightly warped and surreal. So that
I'll take it.
It's just it's just my mind. I enjoy that more than anything. And again, the humor, like this character, I like to bring humor into my sculpting.
Yeah, this character here is the specifics of it. There's so much more behind. It's not just the machine that he's operating. Right. It's the face and that he's making, and it's like, what's this guy's story? I'm like,
well, he's based on Terry Thomas, an old British actor, and he's perfect for this type of vehicle.
Yeah, and I love that coat. Who doesn't want that coat? Now, what materials do you use in your art?
I start out with what I call wet clay. It's you get it out of a bag and you create the sculpture on an armature, which is like a frame that you build and build the clay onto that. When that's finished and I'm happy with it, I seal it. Then I build a silicon or fiberglass mold of that, so I can recreate that either in resin or silicon or bronze. So then when that's done, I'll cast things in the mold, like say like a bronze or urethane plastic. So that's basically what I do. But I also work with motors, servo motors, mechanical mechanisms, anything that puts these together, electrical circuits. And painting, I forgot about the painting. I love using acrylics. Or if I'm painting a creature in silicon, I use the same silicon that it's made out of, and I paint that on the outside of it, so it brings that out, and I add pigments to the silicon to get that. So there's a lot of processes that goes into creating all these things.
Yeah, I mean, you're almost like a demolition expert, where you like to maybe destroy and build back up or something like that.
Yeah.
But not completely destroy, because you'll find something out of what
I'll
exists.
find like this fire extinguisher is a good example. I mean, I saw a vehicle in it straight away, so I thought that's what it needs to be. It needs to be a rocket racing car. So
wow, that's so really you just never let convention or the institution. You never let convention or the establishment control your brain. You've always been thinking like a child, thinking creatively, dream world.
Yeah, and I see alternatives to what they're made for. I think like a dustpan could be somebody's mouth. I just see different things strangely.
Yeah. Well, those blowfish.
The blobfish.
Those keep me up nights.
Yeah.
But anyway. And what is the process?
You mean how do I create them?
Yeah.
Well, it's the same way. The mechanical side of it, I get like this fire extinguisher, for instance, and I know I have to make all the components that look fairly real, like it has a radiator, and I just fashion them, the metal or brass or springs or wherever it takes. I take stuff apart and then just attach it to that so it looks real. And then the art in finishing is painting it to age it so it looks old. And a lot of that is just with acrylics, so it looks old. And that's basically how I do it.
I mean, is this something you can teach or coach? I don't see how you could teach this.
I think you can. I think you can if they understand about color and textures. And it's a process, though. It takes a while to get to that, but you can do it, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's unusual that as an artist and sculptor, you are also skilled in building mechanisms and electric circuits. Can you speak to that? I mean, combining arts with engineering and science,
I know,
it just seems like opposite ends of the spectrum.
I think, again, that's back to my childhood, where we had, I'm old, so we had lots of steam engines still running on the tracks, in North Yorkshire. So I've always been influenced by steam and machines, and I always built my own bikes, created everything. So my brothers were the same, so I think that's where it comes from. I just like creating things and from nothing. So yeah.
And that's where your love of steampunk
That's it. Yeah. Again, I don't know if it is steampunk or not. That's a title I've almost gave this, but it's just that old vintage look that steampunk's embraced.
It's a good word. I feel like it's a good two-syllable.
Yeah, it does. But there's part of steampunk that I don't think I like too much. So it's bordering on steampunk.
Okay, bordering. So until we find another.
It's kinetic.
Adjacent steampunk.
Yeah.
Okay. Where can collectors find your work?
They can find me on my website, social media, my Instagram, Facebook, and we'll probably give those at the end of this interview, I would think.
I do love, that's one of my favorite Instagram accounts, is your it's just amazing, and it's a easy go-to when I show people. I'm like,
right
here, and just scroll through, you just know it's going to be good.
Thank you.
What have you got planned for your next projects?
I have something really exciting for myself. Do you know the old vintage style vacuum cleaners? They're long and similar to this, but they're flat. I've got an Electrolux one. It's like a turquoise and chrome. And I thought, I'm going to make a Hyperloop Train with Elon Musk inside it. So that's my next project.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And he's going to be sat back like this, not driving, because it's self-driving through the tunnel.
Wow, your brain knows no limitations.
I think so. I'm also going to be doing some more skulls. Like that skull there, for instance. I'm going to make more of those. I enjoy doing that.
More skulls is always good.
Yeah.
It's always good.
And also I'm working with a jeweler, a jewel trader, and I'm making some faux opal that he's going to be selling on like a collaboration together. So that's exciting as well.
Yeah, a lot of projects.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's really there's nobody who wouldn't gain from working with you, whether someone was very commercially involved in some capacity or
I'd hope so.
Artistically. There's so much you can do,
Thank you.
So, now do you teach?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
I have taught when I've been working on films, with people that are new and young in the industry. I've shown them how to do things, but I want to teach. I want to give back out and show all the disciplines, from sculpting, mold making, casting, servo motors for animatronics, working with silicons, everything, through what I've learned, and teach that. Do people that you come in contact with, they're probably thrown by the fact that you have the artistic and the science background and skills. They don't believe me that I do everything. Yeah. And that's not bragging, it's just it's the reality. I enjoy doing everything. Yeah. So, and it just, I need to do that. It's all part of it. Where can we find Chris Towle's work on YouTube? I've got my own YouTube page. Okay. It's Chris Towle Living Image Studios. And again, I intend to do more of that. I want to demonstrate, the ones you were describing. I enjoy seeing more of those little snippets on how I build things, how I sculpt things, how I paint things. I think that would be interesting for people. Can you tell us about your work in the movies? What was your favorite project? What was your most challenging project? Wow, favorite ones? Probably Team America. Perfect. That was great fun to work on and some wonderful things to create. And I got a chance to work with Matt and Trey a little bit. That's got to be a thrill that you guys got to just talk to each other, spend time together, and similar sensibilities. It was wonderful. Yeah. I enjoy that. It doesn't happen very often. Yeah, and it's the comedy first. They're not married to any. They're not tied down to any. No. In fact, I think it was Matt was sleeping in the parking lot in a camper van because he kept rewriting things. So he was like write things and come and change that for the next day. So it was a constant flux. That committed at that point. They were well enough off they could just drive home every night. Was it shot in L.A., Los Angeles, or was that in Culver? Culver, okay. Yeah. One of the worst experiences. I've got so many. What do you think? One of the most demanding jobs was TV, working on Jimmy Kimmel Live. Not that Jimmy's great, but the amount of work I had to do in such a short time, it was so demanding and so tiring, and nerve-wracking as well, because you have to be on set, you know, and it's live. So that's one of them.
And you get an assignment at 11 a.m. that needs to be ready to go by 2, 3, 4 for
crazy.
that night.
So they say, can you make a drone that dumps gravy, you know, for tonight? So it's like, oh, okay, I'll do my best. And you hope that it works, and then when it doesn't work, you really get it. Yeah. But yeah, it's tough. One of my other, this is really funny, is I built this giant monster in Shepperton Studios in England, and it had 2 heads, animatronic. But I was inside with another guy puppeteering the arms inside the body. It was about 8 feet tall. And we were up to our waist in water, because it was in a river, so it was really hot and tiring. And the guy next to me kept going, I thought, oh no, he's gonna, and he puked all over. And it's just me and him inside there, and it was floating in this water. That was one of the worst experiences. So I was close to vomiting.
It will. With vomit, you really need it to go away out of your line of sight, out of your line.
That's the thing. I was puppeteering a head that was covered in maggots, real maggots. We had the maggot wrangler there watching, and all the maggots started crawling down and going into my mouth, and I was still
you can't do anything.
I can't do anything. I have to eat the maggots. And the puppet wrangler was making sure I wasn't harming these maggots and magnets.
Oh my God. Okay.
So
yeah, that's
lots of great experiences.
Yeah. I'm glad you're out of that. I hope you don't have to return to that at all. I love that he's worried about the maggots that are in your mouth.
It was can you imagine a maggot wrangler?
Yeah. I would think that anything on the outside of your body is theirs, but once it goes inside your mouth, like you're not responsible for something.
And they smell awful.
Maggots do.
Yeah.
On top of everything else. All right. Is the public able to visit your studio?
Yes. If they go to my website, they can fill a little form in, and they can come along. And I like that. I love people coming to visit. Before COVID, I had some kids come from Caltech. They were a makers group, and that was a big thrill for them. And I enjoyed that so much. So not just kids, but anybody. Yeah. I welcome anybody to come to my studio and see what I do.
That's fun that they see that there's no limits.
Oh yeah. And I was giving examples of things, how to do it. But again, I'd like to show kids just basic sculpting, basic mechanisms, you know.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, you could teach a class in physics, chemistry, art. It blows me away.
It's great fun.
Shop, rather. Okay. Well, thank you, Chris. It's been fascinating learning about you and your art, and we look forward to more of it in the years to come.
Thanks, Patrick. All right, bye-bye.